Welcome everybody for our first meeting for the Measure I Citizenship Oversight Committee. This is our first meeting for the fiscal year 21-22. And uh, Develina would be running the meeting and it will go to the chair if we can vote for a chair, vice chair, and a secretary. So it's up to you, Develina.
So, I will call the meeting to order. It's 6:59 p.m. So who is taking the meeting minutes? Right.
Right now, I'll take the meeting minutes until we hire the new secretary.
Okay. So next is pledge of allegiance.
Okay. We do have a plan.
Pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic. Um, Third item is roll call. So Colin,
Pardon?
Rocky, Nita, I think she said she cannot come. Evelina present. Divya, Nupu here. Paul, Rachel, yes. Sissy, present. Kathleen, present. That's all the classification statements. And we have three new members, Nupur. Do you want to introduce yourself?
I'm a parent of a PhD student, and just wanted to get a little more involved in what's going on, so I put my name in, and glad to be here.
Welcome.
Thank you. Rocky is not here. Sissy,
Okay. Hi everyone, so my name is Sissy. I'm currently a junior at Irvington High School, so I'm the student representative and I'm excited to have a student input onto this committee.
thank you.
Welcome.
So the next item on our agenda is the election of the committee officers. We have to elect the chair, vice chair, and secretary. The chair is basically the person who runs the meetings, and the vice chair only does it when the chair is not available, and the secretary's job is to record the meeting minutes. That's how I understand.
Yes, that is true.
So anyone wants to be the chair?
I can volunteer.
Actually, traditionally, the student is the secretary and takes the notes.
Yes.
That is how it has worked in the past. But that is not to say that things cannot change. I'm just pointing out historically. But that's a really brave offer. Actually, it's a call of the committee, isn't it, Robbie?
Yes, it is the call of the committee. So usually the agenda, I draft the agenda and submit it to the chair for approval. Um, Only to the chair for approval, and then if he or she has changes on the agenda item, um, basically the agenda is drafted based on the previous meeting. If there are some requests from the committee members of what wanted to be presented to them. Um, in the past, what I have presented is the different positions that are positions with names and FTE of that are funded from Measure I. But that report, you cannot bring it home because there are some confidential of the names of the people. So I present that, I give that to you, but at the end of the meeting, I take it back. Other things that was discussed in the past is um, changes in board policy. So the one that I could recall is the student member. Before it was just a regular student member. Now, the request of the Board of Education is be a student member that is a representative or a member of CERT 40. So we made those changes, reviewed here in the committee and approved by the committee. So those are the things that is drafted on the agenda, submits to the chair, gets the approval, and, and after I get the approval, that's when we disseminate.
Also, that a couple years ago, we changed the definition of quorum because we had an insufficient number of people volunteering. And so the way the bylaws were written, it put us in a bind every time. So it was, the quorum is the percentage of people who are actually appointed, rather than the people who should be appointed.
Yes.
That is comfortable.
Yes, we do have a quorum because there are 10 members, appointed members. So there's 6 of us, there's 6 of you. I'm not counted, I'm just the district representative. So you do have a quorum.
So any more candidates for chair?
You're doing it. Doing it.
So my understanding is there is a volunteer, which is PC. So,
And I tell you what, because we're doing something different, I'll volunteer to be secretary. I will send you the minutes. But you're taking them this time, right?
yes, ma'am.
Okay. So I'll volunteer to be secretary. Somebody else, vice chair, I've done it, but somebody else needs to do it.
I can continue.
So first of all, can we go by the positions then? First, so are we approving CC as the chair? Because she volunteered.
I make a move, motion.
Yeah, anyone, second?
Wrong. Second.
Okay, so CC,
Any other discussion on this?
first point. And second.
If not, we can vote. All those in favor, say aye. Anyone opposed? So the motion is adopted to elect CC as chair.
So everybody said yes on that one? Just want to make sure. Okay.
Congratulations.
So next, someone needs to make the motion to elect me as the vice chair.
Motion.
Anyone second?
I'll second.
So any further discussion? With your vote, all those in favor,
Aye.
anyone opposed? So, the vice chair. Next, the vote for secretary. So anyone wants to make a motion to,
But if anybody else is interested in being secretary, you are more than welcome to volunteer. I will not be offended, trust me.
And if you notice, the minutes is very simple. It's not detailed that all of the wording or all of the discussion is written on our minutes.
so anyone wants to
I'll
make
put it in motion.
anyone wants to second?
I can second.
So, all those in favor of electing Catherine as the secretary? Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? So we vote Catherine as the secretary. Now, the sixth item is the approval of the agenda.
So with the new chair being elected, it is now the chair who resigns.
Okay.
Okay, so next item is to approve the agenda. So I guess like we can start a motion.
I make a motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
So everyone can vote. Aye. As the agenda is approved. The next thing is to approve the May 27th, 2021 meeting minutes. Does anyone want to volunteer to make the motion?
I can volunteer to make a motion to approve the minutes.
And then a second.
I'll second.
Okay, so, everyone who approves the meeting minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, so, now we're gonna move on to the oral communication section.
So the oral communication is usually if I get a request from the public, or if the public also requested from me. So I did not get any requests for oral communication. But, yes.
Okay. So next is the Measure Act Citizens Oversight Committee annual report to the Board of Education at board meetings. How should we proceed with this?
So on this particular one, I attached an agenda item, and this is scheduled for October 27, 2021 morning. Usually our annual reporting is on the consent calendar only, meaning it's not part of the regular agenda item. But the board can pull the item and have a discussion on it, but it's on the consent agenda item. So this is what we presented to the Board of Education. Mostly that the committee assures the Board of Education and the citizens of the Fremont of the following: that the partial tax monies was collected and were expended only for the specific. If you would see that under the current status on the last set of paragraph, and there's were collected and expended. The district has regularly reported on the funding and expenditures and has been transparent in the planning. The partial tax benefits all school sites and students of Fremont Unified School District. So this is the normal presentation that we report, or the annual reporting that we do to the Board of Education. In the past, the chair or the vice chair do attend the meeting. But at one point, because it is only in consent, or it is in consent, that's why sometimes it's just the Board of Education approves all of the consent items at the same time. So there was no discussion.
I attended a recent board meeting in, it was May, because the other committee I was on had to do it. And we were number 7. It was not on the consent calendar. We were number 7. We made our presentation at 10 minutes after midnight. So be grateful that this is not a consent calendar only. It was horrible.
So if you agree that we do the same thing, then this is, we have the option to do it on the first board meeting in October, which I believe is October 13th. So we can do it that time. I just want to give us a little room and put it on the second board meeting of October. But it's up to the committee.
Alright, so would everyone like to have it on the
question before we go there. Is there anything going to change from now until October 27th?
No, there's
So
not.
nothing, right?
Nothing. Because what we're reporting is the prior year.
Prior year, okay.
Yes.
So then it really doesn't matter whether we go first or second.
Yes, it's just if you want to attend the meeting, then at least you can schedule yourself going on October 27th, not rushing.
Alright, so if it's something that we need to create a motion on as well.
Yes.
Okay, so want to create a motion.
But before they can make like,
Yeah.
based on first or the second one. Because what Ronnie said is that normally the chair and the vice chair from go there. So I think you and the vice chair want to go and you want to take more time and decide who wants the second one. If not, then we can continue the first one. Or first two.
So right now the motion is on whether or not we should do it on the first.
And whether, so you're saying that one of us should attend, right? That's also
Not necessarily.
not necessary.
Yes.
If we want to.
If you want to attend, either the vice chair, or the chair or vice chair, or any of the members of the committee, everybody's welcome to attend the
If it's
board
on the
meeting.
consent calendar, it's just kind of a formality thing.
Okay.
There's not ever any discussion that I can remember. Is
Okay.
there?
The only thing, at one time, I think when we did, is that the Board of Education thanked the previous committee members and the current committee members for being a member of the committee.
Okay, that's about it. So we don't really have to attend.
That is true.
Okay. Whether it's first or the second.
Alright, so that means whether it's the first or second, doesn't make a large difference. So, let's make a motion for the first one then. Anyone wanna go ahead? The second one was.
Awesome.
So,
The new person, your name, sir, is Robbie. Okay.
So if everyone wants to keep it on the first board meeting, okay, so the next item on the agenda is to present the final 2020-2021 personal tax financial report. Is there someone who's designated to present this?
Yes, I am. So what you have in front of you is, if you look at the upper left-hand corner, the report is 2021 Measure IPARS and Tax Analysis. So this is our financial reporting for parcel tax, and it shows um, the financial position of the districts from budget adoption to the revised budget or different revisions of the budget, and then the final, and then what we actually ended up with. So first is our revenues. Our revenues, if you're going to look at the final budget and actuals, prior year, meaning these are prior year revenues that was received in the current year, that is from previous year. So we received $4,800 for the prior years, and then current year is 4.5 million or 4.468 million, and then the contribution from general fund of 1.418 million.
There are two sheets. One says 2020, 2021. Other one is 21, 22. What are they?
We're looking at the 2020-21.
Okay.
So the contribution part of this one is because the parcel tax doesn't fund all of the positions that are, that we have put into the part, to the Measure I. So that's why general fund is still contributing to the, to the fund. So, I'll explain that more later. And then, with the parcel tax, Alameda County, Treasurer's Office also charge us fees for processing the parcel tax. So the total fees that they charged us last year was $75,000. And they charge us twice a year, 50% when they do the first 50% of the money going to us, and then that's around December, and then around April or May that they would charge us the remaining. And now here's the other expenditures. So what we charge to the Measure I parcel tax is all of the science prep teachers at the elementary schools, all of the library media technicians, or what we call LMTs, at the elementary schools and the junior high and middle schools. And also, we charge the campus supervisors at the junior high and middle schools and the high schools. For the teachers, we've been charging 25.8 FTE. It doesn't mean it is 25 teachers or 25.8 teachers. So an FTE is an equivalent to an 8-hour job, or for a teacher, it's a 6-hour job. So there's more than that because we have how many elementaries? About 30 plus elementary schools. So this is all of the science prep teachers at all of the 30 plus elementary schools. LMTs for the elementary and also for the junior high. So we have 5 junior high and middle schools. So there's 5 FTE because each junior high and middle school get 1 FTE. And then the elementary schools get, I believe, 0.75 FTE. The total cost for the teachers is 3.1 million. The cost for the LMTs is 2.6 million. And the cost for the campus supervisors for the junior high, middle school, and high school is $653,000 with the total expenditures of 5.8 million. So that is the total cost. Yes.
Are these net new hires, or we have working teachers doubling up as science prep teachers, or these are people completely newly recruited?
No, they're existing teachers. These are not additional. The parcel tax was not created to hire new teachers. It's from the existing teachers that we have, or LMPs, or campus supervisors. In the past, the first parcel tax that Fremont passed is called Measure K. And the same thing with the Measure I. If the parcel tax did not pass, the science prep is going to be eliminated. The LMTs is going to be eliminated, or I don't want to say eliminated, but they're going to be reduced or be cut. And same thing with the campus supervisors.
So this FTE translates into some sort of overtime for the existing teachers?
Not overtime. This is their regular job.
You can call it full-time employees.
Full-time employees, but they are not newly recruited, they are already being.
If let's say a science prep teacher retired and a new one is needed, then they would be charged to the same fund.
It's within did you pass out, have you given the new people a copy of the what Measure I would,
Oh, the bylaws?
the bylaws?
No, basically, all of our bylaws are in our website.
The bylaws specifically state what can be, this measure can be spent on. And
Sorry,
this is, it does include,
I'm sorry to interrupt, but there's a please, like it talks about the purposes of Measure I to continue happening for.
that's a kind of an excerpt, yes. But it, so it's not quite all encompassing. And the decision was made that these things are the ones where the salaries were going to be covered by Measure I.
Yes.
But yes, you're right, that is a good excerpt, because that does say, that's what they told the taxpayers, or the voters, is we want this measure passed, because these are the things we need to support in the schools. The purpose of this committee is to make sure that what is expended on is consistent with that measure. And if it's not consistent, then it is our obligation to say it is not consistent. And then we make a report to the board and say, you can't do this. And that has happened on occasion on committees. And it's because of a board someplace else that spent money the way they wanted, rather than the way the citizens voted in the bond measure. And as a result, I believe it is a requirement now in California for there to be citizens oversight committees for these citizen voted bonds, to make sure the money is spent as the voters want it.
That is
That's
true.
more than you wanted to know, I'm sorry.
No,
but that is-
thank you for
thank you.
clarifying, because of the.
I'm sorry, I've been on the committee a while, so.
Yes, for the bond, the general obligation bond, which is the Measure E, to fix our buildings, those things, that is a requirement that a bond committee has to be established. For the parcel tax, for the Measure I, we actually also put in the ballot that a committee is going to be established. That's the reason why we have this committee. We told the community, the citizens of Fremont, that if you approve this, we're going to create a committee, and this is that promise to them.
So I got a question there. Let's go into the revenue side, right?
Yes.
You have the adopted on July 1st, let's say $5.9 million. And as you go through to July 1st, let's say final budget, column E, like we revised to 5.9, right? But we only spent $5.8 million. Either we spent or we just got $5.8 million, right?
So, yes,
So that means that we did not get roughly $52,000, which we budgeted for one of the services, maybe for the science lab teacher or maybe LMTs or for the supervisor.
that is true. So you can look at it, that is one way of looking at it. But that 5.9 million includes a contribution from the general fund. So basically, the only amount of money that we got from the parcel tax is 4.4 million,
Which was,
which is the
And
prior
budgeted.
year and the current year projection. Or basically, it's the actual at that time.
So the difference is actually made out from the general fund.
Yes,
And that explains why the revenue and expectations are kind of exactly matching.
yes.
Okay, I was just
Because
wondering how can
whatever-
it be possible? Okay?
Yeah, whatever
Last
we
thing.
spend in the parcel tax, we have to, if there's more money from the parcel, that's perfect, we can probably charge more to the parcel tax. But usually, it's not, so general fund has to put up the money.
I'm just checking my understanding from what Kathleen said, is like basically once this measure was passed and the funds were made available, these were the things that could be paid out from the money that was coming in, like these particular teaching positions.
Yes,
They were being paid from a different source prior to this, but with Measure Right, these were the specific positions that could be used for, getting paid out from Measure Right.
yes.
Is that- okay.
For example, a couple years ago, there was one school board member who wanted to, was it close the, I was incensed about, wanted to close the school libraries and have the PTAs run them because he or she wanted to put that money elsewhere. Well, it died quickly. Right, right.
Actually, I think it was before my time.
Okay, anyway.
Before,
so-
yeah, before I came to
And
Fremont
that's the
Unified.
sort of thing that you hear things about that's the purpose of the
But net, this prevented anything that was being offered to the students from going away. But this $4.4 million didn't add any new teaching positions.
No. It didn't. That's, just like what,
It seems like a reallocation, basically.
yes.
Yes.
Instead of like, whatever the teachers are being paid from, like, other teachers are getting paid their salaries from some other source, but these particular positions, because they could be covered from Measure I, so then the funds were diverted to pay this one.
Yes. I think a long time ago, the district was experiencing some, loss of enrollment or, loss of revenue. And so that's why they looked at the parcel tax. And if the parcel tax didn't got approved, the idea of just like what Kathleen said is that, okay, we cannot afford all of the positions that is in the district. What positions can we, um, that that we can say that we're going to fund if the parcel tax gets approved? So that's why a bulk of it is the science prep teachers, because it does say here on the excerpt that the Measure I continue funding for programs in math, science, and reading. So the science prep was part of that. The LMTs, where it says here, I think, keep school libraries open, because that's one point of also, just like what Kathleen said, also is close all of the libraries, get only volunteers or something like that. And then the campus supervisors is protect student safety and security. So that was part of that. With the Measure K, the old parcel tax, um, if I recall, what we did is only teachers and teachers, LMPs, and noon supervisors. So, but there was a question of the high schools are not getting that much because the high school was only getting the librarians, because each high school has a librarian. So, and so instead of doing that, we have included the campus.
High school librarians are actually paid out of the general fund,
Yes,
because they're librarians, not library tax.
yes,
So, why you see that number for the library tax. It reflects middle school and elementary school.
Sorry, I just wonder about the column of final budget. Why is there $4,800? Can you explain that?
can you repeat that? Ma'am?
The final budget, the column 8,
Yes,
there is a 4,800 from prior year.
okay. So those are, some of the, what I can explain is those are the delinquent, taxes that came in late. So some homeowners did not pay it on time. They have delinquent, or they have an installment with, the, Alameda Controller's Office. So that came in late on the money, so it's now part of prior year.
So they just decided to give us more money?
That decide, basically, if I'm a homeowner and I didn't pay the parcel tax during the time that I should pay it, then I'm delinquent. So instead of paying it in the fiscal year of 1920, I paid it in 2021. So let's say I didn't see your bill. It wasn't part of the first initial collection, so I didn't pay it. But now, Alameda County Controller's Office saying that, no, you owe that money. then I have to pay.
Where do we get the science teacher to the student ratio prior to measure I and after measure I to see whether it actually changed across people?
I would say it would be the same because the allocation that didn't change on the ratio.
If the teachers are the same, the students might not be the same. I mean the student to the teacher ratio.
The student and teacher ratio is usually what is the class size. Yes. So I actually don't know the class size. I'm not part of the allocation of the teachers to the school. But I think on the bargaining agreement, it is 30 to 1.
I have just one quick question, especially on talent design. Our talent for FPE for L&D, it was consistent, let's say from the beginning of last fiscal year until May, right? It was 28.25,
Yes.
right? In May, it went down from 28.25 to 27.43. Did we lose anyone or?
So we basically had an early retirement that left that district by the end of June.
Oh, okay.
Yes. So at that time we were budgeting for that much FTE, and it was left vacant. But on this particular case, somebody left and retired.
So it was just one person?
Yes, usually just one person.
Okay. But made a huge difference though.
Yes, because it became vacant, nobody filled the position.
Okay.
They could probably hire a sub, but the sub is not that much.
So like when we're gonna hire a new position, right, or not new position, a new person for that position, our budget is going to go back to the original for this fiscal year.
Yes,
Correct?
and you would see that on the next report.
Or
Quickly going back to the 30 to 1 student ratio, is there any way we can check to see what the current ratio is? Because I believe, like you mentioned before, in 2018, when they had the budget cuts, one of the main things they did in order to help cut down the budget was to increase class sizes. So I think it would be interesting to see like how much the class sizes have increased.
Okay, I can do that.
I mean, sorry, just gonna, so I believe some of the students have been attending virtual again. But, I mean, is this somehow reflected on our budgeting? Because we're having probably fewer students,
So the
but we're
vir-
having the same amount of teachers.
so the virtual academy is funded by the federal or state funding for the CARES Act. So that's not part of the Measure I or the partial tax.
Okay, so the same budget is serving fewer students, I guess.
Pardon me?
The same amount of money is serving fewer students.
I don't know that.
Because like 10% of students have been going to this separate program, right?
Wait, it's not, I'm sorry, it's not based on students. I think it's based on teachers and the resources.
Yeah, that I understand. I'm just, I guess it's a good thing.
So that ratio should actually decrease.
Right.
But again, new students join every year, and one of the goals of Measure I is to relieve overcrowding in classrooms. So it would be interesting to know the student to teacher ratio before and after Measure I.
Are there any other comments on agenda? All right, now we can move on to number 11, which is presenting the 2021-22 partial tax measure.
So the next report that you would see is on the upper left-hand corner, you will see a 2021-22 Measure I partial tax analysis. So you would see our beginning balance. Of course, we didn't have any from the prior year. revenues. If we got some, what was budgeted, what was actuals, and what is a projection. Now, on the prior year, now, we have $3,400 in the negative. Now, the reason for the $3,400 negative is, when we get the money for the partial tax, how the Alameda County controllers give us the money is 50%, 45%, and 5%. 50% usually in the month of December and January, when your property tax is due. And then around April or May for the other 50% that the property tax that you owe is due to them. What Alameda County or Alameda Controller's Office does is we only give 50% and then 45%. And this 5%, which they call it teeter settlement, I don't know where they got the name, but that is what they call it. Teeter settlement. They usually give that to us in the month of August or September. So at the end of fiscal year 2021, I have to project for that 5%. Based on the total amount that they give. Basically, it's whatever received divided by 95%. You get your 100%. And the difference is my 5%. So based on that calculation, I projected $3,400 more for that 5% teacher settlement. So
That was last year.
that was last year. Yes.
5% of the 4.4 million.
Yes.
That's around 200,000.
Yes.
That's the difference.
Yes.
The difference between what was projected and what was actually.
Yes. Yes, it's around $233 something thousand. You're correct. Then current year projection, we are projecting 4.3 million. And then a contribution of $1.8 million from general fund.
How does the projection for current year go down from last year? They had 50 grand almost in terms of property taxes.
So during the time of budget adoption, they do the adoption during the month of June. So they don't know yet what is the total amount that we're going to get on the budget, so we didn't know, especially because it was another department who's doing the calculation. So they didn't know that how much really we're going to get. So they project the same dollar amount as what they projected as
For last year.
yes.
So the actuals are also going to be different.
Yes, because as new development comes in, and once it is sold, the amount is going to go up.
So, yeah, that's the question. So why can't we budget with the final actual number?
That is the second step that the budget department is going to be doing during their first interim report.
Okay.
And the first interim reporting is as of October 31st. So they're going to be doing that revision. And then, of course, the parcel tax collection processing fee of Alameda County, $75,000. Going to the different expenditures, again, we're doing the science prep teachers, 26 FTE, LMPs. This is where your question calling. We're budgeting again for 23.35 FTE. And then junior high schools at 5 FTE for the LMPs. And then the campus supervisors, 6.13 FTE for the junior high. And then the high schools is 5.9 FTE. So total budgeted is $6 million. And we are projecting this, uh, less than $400,000 of it, because with vacant positions, we don't know what we're going to get, or uh, we don't know where the new person is going to come in the house. So, and also, just want to let you know, for our classified employees that are less than 10 months, um, if they don't use their vacation that is allotted to them, that vacation days gets paid to them at the end of the year. So that's why you would see there's still a balance of 400 something thousand dollars there. And that 400 something thousand dollars could possibly be their vacation payout. Because if I am a campus supervisor and I'm allocated 10 vacation days a year, and I only use one, that 9 days will be paid to me at the end of the business.
Do you have to pay them or they can carry one at home?
They have to pay it. It's based on their bargaining agreement.
So in terms of the total salary expenditures, it seems to be about different way, higher by about $200,000 from 2020. Is that part of the regular pay raise that has been negotiated with you?
No, not necessarily. There's no negotiated pay raise with any bargaining unit for 21, 22. But in our salary schedule, there is an automatic increase that because of longevity, you go up by 1.5%, approximately 1.5% district-wide. So if you are here for 3 years and let's say you were on step 3, the next year you'll be in step 4. So there is a automatic increase on that one over the negotiated salary increase. And for this year, 21-22, there is no negotiated salary yet, or approved negotiated salary. So if we're going to look at the column of the actuals as of September 15, you would see there's a negative $224,000. That means that out of all of the expenditures that we've spent, cash-wise, we spent $224 or $224,000, but we have not received the money yet from the county. So generally, the district general fund is fronting the cash for cash purposes. And then once we get the money in December or November, December, that's when we'll have the cash. And usually we're still negative because they only give us 50%. And at that time, 4 months already passed. But there might be, the variance might not be that much. So for cash flow purposes, I just want to share that.
Just to clarify, sorry to interrupt you, the salary expenditure seems to be up by 3%. Between 6021 and 58.
So that's why it's just a projection of what was spent last year and what was projected this year. So because you cannot really tell if you get a new person or not. If there was a vacant position and they actually got into a higher step than what usually is. So, and but I do know that there is no salary increase, negotiated salary increase for 2020, except for the automatic percent increase.
It looks like the FT for the science strip, it just increased a little bit, 25.8 to 26.
Yes, so there is, because of enrollment sometimes, that's when they're going to pitch in or put in a few more FTEs. If there's a lot of students, then we have to accommodate that. So it's not where it's going to be funded from another fund or another source of money. If they are science prep, they're going to be charged to the measure I. But I do know for 21, 22, we are in declining enrollment worse than last year.
Yeah, so, I mean, that's, that, why would we need more science prep teachers when the number of kids are actually less?
So it just depends on where they are. Uh, it is a possibility that our reduction is from junior high and high school and on different grades where the science prep is not affected. So those are the different scenarios that could happen.
So, so let's go back to revenue side, right, for a minute. So we are projecting $4.3 million, right?
Yes.
And we just talked about the actuals for the previous year, which is 4.46, right? And we are going to pitch in on, let's say, October 31st or 30th to get to that number.
Yes.
Let's say we got it, right? We got that number. So now we'll be getting roughly like $130,000 more.
Yes.
When are we going to spend that?
Basically, what will happen is that the contribution from general fund will be reduced.
Oh.
Borrowed money anyways.
Okay, just a quick clarification. So how exactly is the FTE number?
It depends on the position. Uh, so, for example, for teachers, they are 6 hour employee. So 6 hours is equivalent to one FTE. For a classified position, let's say my position, I'm an 8 hour position. My FTE is one FTE. So it just depends on what is the actual work hours of the position. So if let's say I'm a 6 hour employee, a 6 hour, my position is 8, but I'm only 6 hours, so I'm only 0.75.
But for example, in the elementary schools, it's the size of the elementary school that determines the number of hours for the LMT position. So you have a very large elementary school with lots of things like Warm Springs. That's, I believe, almost a full time. You get some small elementary schools, because Fremont has some very small ones. They may be only funded for 2 days a week or 20 hours or 25 hours. So that's where the student ratio comes in. But not so much, I believe, with the science, the same for the science teachers.
I'm not part of the who allocates the FTE based on enrollment, so I could not answer that question.
You can look at it when he shares the spreadsheet that shows the school, the allocation of hours per school.
Yeah.
Because that gives you an idea. You can pull out the small schools right away and realize how many hours that person gets.
If you're looking at the total science prep teachers and it says FTE is 25.8, then does it mean like divided by 6, and that's the number of teachers?
Times
Times
six.
Times 6.
That's FTE hours, not teachers. It is
Not
not the
teachers,
number of
actually,
teachers. It's hours. Everything is hours on this, really. So that's calculated out. It's confusing.
Figure out what's the difference. I mean, like, when it says total science prep teacher, when it says 25.8, that's the FTE, and so that is just, how does it translate into the number of teachers? I don't know.
Well, certainly in elementary schools, it's based on the size of the school. You wouldn't have a 40-hour teacher in a school like the size of Harvey Green or something, which is a smaller school, versus a Warm Springs, which is a big school. So I believe that's how it's done pretty consistently at the elementary school. That's my understanding, but I might be wrong.
So I can present to you in our next meeting the staffing. Who are the people, how much FTE per site,
And the
FTE.
ratios.
The salaries on the report might not be true, but at least the FTE and the people.
And the number of hours per name at school. That does clarify a lot.
One silly question, does math come under the purview of science prep?
I'm not,
Yeah.
I'm
No,
not,
it was one of the
I don't know, it's
laws
not my-
in the measure.
Yes.
So they didn't cover everything in the measure. They're saying we're gonna use the money for possibly these things, and then it was cherry picked out, I believe. But I don't think math is. I believe math is at the elementary school level is taught, I think by
Yeah.
the homeschool.
But they got dedicated science prep teachers
Yeah.
like the kids for like one period a day.
Yeah. And that's pretty consistent with school districts, certainly across the Bay Area. That's not an inconsistent.
see, it says here, so one of them is continue funding for programs in math, science, and reading. And I think the science prep falls under maintain math, science, reading, and writing programs. I believe that is where the science prep came into about because the science prep is probably not four. Because you have to, the core programs, my thought process is the core programs, no matter what, you have to fund that. The science prep is not. Kathleen?
If they didn't have the science prep teachers, the home teachers would be teaching science. And there's a criteria for the science prep program.
Oh, okay.
So it is just a separate program. Kids leave their homeroom, they go to the science thing, and it is a specific program. They have tailored to each grade.
I see. Okay.
Yeah, when I was in elementary school, our homeroom teacher would teach us science, and then we would also take like a period, a few times a week to go to our science prep. So I do think it's like. Okay. So does anyone else have anything to add on agenda number? Okay. So number 12 is.
Do we need a motion for planning and the science management?
Actually, that's one thing you're correct. Apologies. Because I only put you present, I should say present and approve. So on agenda item number 10 with and 11, we do need to have an approval. I'll make that correction the next time.
Present and approve.
Yes.
So for agenda item number.
Approve.
Second.
So. One person. Next is number 11. So one of volunteers. Okay, so now for number 12, that's just confirming and scheduling future meetings. So for this one, I believe our next meeting is supposed to be in December because we have one every 3 months. So do we decide our own date or is that our schedule?
You decide your own thing.
So I'm just wondering, because Thursdays many people seem to be unavailable, should we do it some other day?
I'm fine with this. Before December 15th. is also good because we have this one.
It doesn't matter, any day.
Yeah, I'm open both
Let's pick up
days.
the
I was
second
just-
Tuesday of December, if that looks like.
What is it? 8th, right? Seven. Oh, sorry, 14.
Tuesday. That's going to be 14.
And 14 would be too late, I think.
Or maybe the 8th. No, previous one is 7th.
Yeah, that is the first.
December
Seventh.
7th.
December 7th.
Yeah, fine with me. I mean, I was just wondering because it looks like few people have, kids have classes.
That's fine, let's go with 7.
Date is what date? 7?
December 7th.
Okay, sorry, the masks make it hard.
December 7th.
Yeah, I got that. And I'm getting deaf, so you know.
No, the mask
No,
make it
I-
hard for everyone.
So December 7th, 6:30.
Yeah.
Do you still like this venue, or do you want to, if I could try to do it on the main entrance? The reason like I like the main entrance is I could see the door. And if somebody see it, because right now I left the door open, that's why Rocky, you were in.
No, actually, I came in through this door, but I couldn't hear the noise, so I roamed around the rest of the building for about 10 minutes, sent an email to Kathy, and then figured out it was in this room. So,
Oh, sorry.
that's okay, but that's because I thought there would be a room number or something, and I didn't realize PDC actually meant the room number.
Okay, yes.
The main entrance, the meeting is just as you go in.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I think that is much more convenient for all of
If
us.
it's available, is it available?
Yeah, I'll try to book it. Yes.
Do we need to pass a motion? Okay, or?
Yes.
Okay, so everyone will have to make a motion. So if you, for the next meeting, so this is 7, from 6:30 to 7:30 p.m., say aye.
Okay.
Alright, so the meeting is adjourned at.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Robbie.